Get out of my dreams.
And into my car.
Beep, beep. Yeah. Welcome to the car that is the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me on background vocals and host companion duties, give it up for Sejohn Sarowick.
What's going on, everybody? I got a little close to my mic on that one. For the first time ever, I think you can actually hear me when the show starts.
Oh, I just thought you were projecting.
Haha! Of course.
You can't have the rent.
I can't pay the rent. All right, sorry.
You must pay the rent. All right, so that was...
I'll pay the rent.
Everyone.
Are we doing this? Are we going all the way?
Well, there's 525,600 minutes, Sejohn.
Oh,
How many
man.
of them
See,
do you want to fill
go
with
Dudley
Rent?
Do Right. You went Rent. You went with the really depressing movie.
Why is Rent really depressing?
No, you're right. Dudley Do Right's much more depressing. Brendan Fraser, come on now.
Dude, but Brendan Fraser, everybody, May at Say Report is Brendan Fraser History Month.
It's
and
coming.
I am so excited that Brendan Fraser is working on new things. He's doing his own All the Money in the World, like, miniseries where he plays the Mark Wahlberg role.
Like, as Mark Wahlberg. It's crazy. It's
yeah,
really
it's
crazy.
a miniseries about the making of All the Money in the World.
I don't know how I feel about them getting Roman Polanski to play Kevin Spacey, but
You know what? That's just good casting. Plus, is Roman Polanski dead?
no, man. He's still over in Europe being like, I touched everybody.
You all got caught, but I'm in Europe where there's no extradition.
There's no laws in Europe.
Every prudes in America.
Oh, God.
In Europe, the Queen pulls up in a silver carriage, and you're lucky if you're fondled.
And she says, I loved Rush Hour 3.
She did love Rush Hour 3, though. That was a weird day. Did anyone but the Queen love Rush Hour 3? I bet Jamie Dufault did. I feel
I want everybody. oh, Jamie.
We saw it with him. That's the only reason why.
I just want to say, I just want everybody to remember that Roman Polanski made Rush Hour 3. The end. Like, we allowed that to happen, America. We allowed that to happen.
That's probably why it's got that weird thing about the bald lady who's a list. The bald lady who's an object. Who directed it? Show me Roman Polanski. No, it was potato salad.
And then he did that Kenneth Branagh thing where he puts himself in it. No, it's okay. I don't want to rope Kenneth Branagh into this. I hate him, but for artistic reasons, not for legitimate ones.
Oh, good. So petty reasons compared to real reasons.
No, it's petty. It's totally petty. I just wanted that to be out there. Roman Polanski, I hate you for real reasons. Kenneth Branagh, I hate you, but for reasons that are not fair. Anyway, hey man, Say Report. What are we doing, everybody? What's going on?
What are we doing, everybody? I am flying very, very high.
Okay.
And I guess I'll start. I'm just gonna jump into it. I shelled out $200 on a crazy, sexy, cool Super Nintendo clone.
Oh, so sexy. Talk to me about it.
So it's the Analog Super NT. It is, first of all, every review I've seen of it online, the people take it out of the box, and the first thing out of their mouth is, "Oh, this is heavy." Like it's got a good weight to it. And I said, I looked at Dale and I'm like, I'm going to get mine, and that's not gonna be the first thing out of my mouth. I'm not gonna comment on the weight.
Say
it's impossible not to.
It's heavy.
The thing is like a brick.
Man.
The box that it comes in is not as heavy as when you take it out, which makes sense because of distribution.
Well, right. But you know what it is, man? It's the idea that the Super Nintendo was nothing. Like, it was just weightless. Like, it was
As a person who has taken apart numerous Super Nintendos, I can account that it is basically a circuit board.
Yeah, that's right. A circuit board and some graying plastic. That's all it is. It just turns yellow and gray with time, both at the same time. It's really weird to watch.
Yeah, the bottom turns a lighter shade of gray, and the top turns yellow.
I think it's like a weird zombification. I think it's the only thing that we have that we can actually like really talk about zombifying in this world.
Is the original Super Nintendo. But I picked this up because it uses FPGA, which instead of like software emulation, which is how most emulation and clone systems work, it is a hardware emulation chip. So,
I hear the popping of 1,000 nerd boners. Anyway.
So it's cool. So like this chip is configured to think that it's a Super Nintendo.
Oh man, no,
Some
that's awesome.
Manchurian Candidate type shit up in here. But it outputs natively in 1080p.
Oh
So
God,
it
yes.
is like I've played so much Legend of Zelda over the weekend, like more than usual, and it has been just the most beautiful experience.
There was like a physical thing in my throat where I had to stop myself from just sarcastically being like, "A what?" Like I like felt it in my
That's
chest.
fine. That's completely fine. It's dude, well, okay, so like I thought I was going to be done after the Key Sanity tournament ended. I went 2 and 3. Let's not talk about it. But like I said last week, I signed up for that tournament to be in a 2v2 and I've been practicing with my partner. I feel like we have our first match tomorrow at 8 p.m. So I'm very excited for that. And
Okay.
so I've just had to play Zelda because I've never done entrance randomizers. So I've needed to like dip into this different world.
Oh man,
So
I like
it's
the way that you did that, the way that you worked that segue in. I really enjoy that.
what do you mean?
Oh no, because we talked like days ago, and we never do this, by the way. I don't want anybody to think that we actually plan this show out when we do it, but we actually weirdly planned out a small segment in this show that had entirely everything to do with entrance randomizers, and I'm just applauding your effort of working that in early because we don't get to do this often.
No, no, we don't. But here's the best part: because we never do that, I have literally no fucking clue what Sejohn is talking about.
Oh, that's awesome. Keep going, and we'll talk later.
But yes, so I've been doing that and I've been playing it, but I also played Super Mario World because years ago, like 2015, it might have been 16. It was 2016 because I just had to find it because I want to order another one. From Ben Q. I don't know if
Four
people.
score and 2 years ago.
Yes, 22 years ago. No, 82 years ago.
Four score, isn't that like 4 weeks?
No, 4 score is 80 years.
Oh, I thought it was 80 weeks.
No, a score is
Oh,
20
that's a fortnight.
years.
A fortnight is
Right.
2 weeks. Never mind.
Which,
Anyway,
which
keep
I
going.
have to, before we go any further, Zach, you talk about the game Fortnite and matches lasting 30 minutes. They should last 2 weeks, buddy. Don't play that game.
I'm letting Devon flounder on this joke all by
Oh,
himself.
screw you. It's Saraport Jr., right? I'm trying to give a shout out to them. I listened to their first episode. It's very good. It's a lot of fun because
Ours.
you and I, we've known each other for literally ever. Like
Yeah,
I look,
man.
and so we don't even have a shorthand anymore.
No, you know what it does? You know what that show does more than anything is it does that really great thing that sequels should do, where it takes a concept and turns it on its head. And the fact that they haven't known each other, that's how they like really easily fall into that. So here we are gushing about this show, but really go give it a listen because whereas the two of us have this weird family aspect, I'm not going to try and say that.
Familiarity.
I don't have the mouth capacity to say that right now. But while the two
That's
of
not
us
what
are
the
like
bathroom
brothers,
stall says.
boom, the two of them don't know each other, and the way that the two of them do that, I am jealous because I don't think I could do a show like this with somebody that I didn't care about. Like the way that you and I know each other and just like are in each other's lives. I don't think this show would work any other way. The two of them make it work, and that's why I hate them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Back to our own show.
No, but we really want to give a shout out. They are
course.
bi-weekly, so not one this week, but keep a lookout next Wednesday for another episode of Say Report Junior. I hate their friggin' logo. Can I just say
Yeah.
that? It's
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But Zach, I want you to know how hard it is for me to not make jokes every time Devin talks about it. Your show being bi-weekly. I love you. The end. Anyway, keep going, Zach. Keep going, Devin. Keep going, Zach. Keep going, Devin.
all right. I don't remember where I was going when I brought that
I don't
up.
know. I don't know. I'm an asshole. You're
A
an asshole.
Fortnite
We
too.
love
Oh,
Fortnite.
so I bought
All
a
right.
Ben Q. Ben Q. The monitors that I use in Say Report headquarters are by this company called Ben Q. I have a really nice 4K monitor that's like 30 inches, and then I have a 24-inch one that I use for when I play video games because it's got 0 millisecond
Now,
latency.
which one is sideways?
Oh, the sideways one is a Dell monitor.
Okay. Well, all right.
And that's the problem, is that like this Dell monitor came into my life and it's beautiful, but I'm thinking about like, ooh, do I want to get another BenQ monitor to have sideways? so that I'm like totally on the scene. So the 24-inch one that is built specifically to be used for gaming. It has
Okay.
zero latency. It's actually a head-to-head monitor too. The idea would be that there's an HDMI out. I don't know a lot of things that have HDMI outs anymore.
No, that's crazy. I mean, besides like fucking Blu-ray players,
Well,
right?
of course,
Anyway.
right, but like I can't think of a lot of like monitors or televisions that do HDMI out.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All right.
so it's really cool because the idea behind this monitor is it's for fighting games where like latency should be as low as possible, and you'd have one person with one monitor in front of them, and then you'd output from that monitor into another monitor, and the second player would have their own monitor.
Okay, and I would just want to put a disclaimer really quickly at this point where we understand that HDMI is not the end-all be-all of latency issues. I'm sorry, you're talking about fighting games. There's a certain community out there that's into this shit, and I just want them to be aware that, like, we understand that like, there's going to be a next step. But, sorry, you were saying...
No, I think I also covered that by saying the idea is...
Yeah, right.
There's no gap.
I know,
like,
but people don't often listen to subtlety when they get to Twitter.
That's
I'm just
true.
saying.
That's very true. But I mean, that was what BenQ intended to do. And actually, this is older. They've actually switched it over to Zowie, is what they call that brand of monitors now.
Okay, all right. Excellent.
And I kind of want to get a Zowie monitor to replace the BenQ that I've been playing video games on, and turn that BenQ into my sideways monitor. But that Dell, I mean, it's a little 20-inch Dell that was the gold standard for a while of gaming monitors.
Excellent.
So I absolutely love it. And their prices dropped so low. They're like $27 on Amazon right now. So if you're looking for a good sideways monitor,
Damn it.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh, man. Never been a better time to be a nerd. Never
better.
been.
Well, there's literally no better time to be a nerd. But so that's what I do. And I'm running it off of that, and it's just great. Like I've never seen colors so bright from Super Nintendo games, and I'm really looking forward to exploring my entire collection again, to celebrating all of the Super Nintendo carts that I have saved throughout my life.
If only there was a way to go and experience real world colors in like the most real way possible that didn't involve a computer screen. I wonder what that would be.
Going outside? I did that on Friday. It's not my fault that like someone offended the snow gods, and I'm staring down the barrel of yet another nor'easter.
Yeah, we are recording this with the idea that at any minute Devon could just cut out on me because, you know, then the death would come to us all. I mean, like, it's the end of the world in the Northeast. What's going on, man?
No,
okay?
it's good. I'm fine. I'm completely alive and everything. But like when they've shut down the entire state, like the governor said the state of Rhode Island is closed tomorrow. First of all, the thing that I always think of is National Lampoon's Vacation, where he's like, well, what if you got to Florida and Florida was closed? And he's like, oh, well, they don't close Florida, Clark. And he's like, yeah, but just follow along with the metaphor. No, they close Rhode Island.
Yeah. I mean, it is basically an amusement park for New England. Like that's what Rhode Island is.
Come
and experience all of the
coffee,
pilgrims.
milk, and gaggis.
Everybody thinks they landed in the South first. They're wrong. They're probably right, but anyway, they're wrong.
Oh, I love it. I
Man,
love it.
as long as you guys are good, I'm happy to hear that you guys are okay. We're in that weird state where we get snow, but then it just melts instantly, like every day. So for like 10 minutes a day, it snows like a bitch, and then all of a sudden it's gone within like 20 minutes.
Well,
so like
last Wednesday, it was raining all day. Like it was just hellacious rain, like heavy rain type, not heavy rain, hard rain type rain.
Hard rain, fuck. Christian Slater out in that shit.
Like it was bad. Like I was afraid that Randy Quaid was going to be out there trying to get the money from the graveyard.
You don't want to fuck with hard rain, Randy Quaid. No, you want Independence Day Randy Quaid if you're going to get it, Randy Quaid.
Exactly. I prefer not another teen movie Randy Quaid.
That's fair. He's loving in both, though.
I want a loving Randy Quaid though. That's what I don't want. Sheriff who is disgruntled and decides like
like jaded Randy Quaid. You don't want disgruntled Randy Quaid. No, not in any way.
So we have this hard rain falling. And we go out into the world because we're like, it's just rain. It's not going to be bad. And then, like, suddenly while we're out in the world and we're like, oh, we should probably think about heading back home, that's when, like, the blizzard god flipped a switch. And this rain that was falling like a bastard turned to snow and was falling with the same intensity. And it was...
I don't play enough World of Warcraft to know who the Blizzard gods are. Who are we talking about?
I'm pretty sure it's Eric, Olaf, and I don't remember the third Lost Viking, and that hurts. Balrog. So those are the names of the Lost Vikings.
Olaf keeps falling apart. I don't like this movie.
Ugh. Dude, I was in an IHOP on Sunday. They played Let It Go.
Yeah, man.
And it's just like,
Hey,
no, we're done.
I work in retail. I hear "Let It Go" at least 3 times a day, man. I'm numb
you
to that
also
shit
work
now.
at the Disney store. So.
No, don't put that shit on me. I would love to work at the Disney store. You're not an employee. You're an actor.
Don't do
I know, man. I do not work at the Disney store.
But yes, so that's what this snow has been like. And then we're like, oh, we're probably not going to have work tomorrow, whatever. But that bastard snow ended, and I was able to get out of my driveway with zero problem. And as I was like driving to work, the snow was melting so powerfully off of
Man.
trees and stuff. And I'm like, what is this? What are we doing? So I'm like, I thought we were done. That's the kind of snow where you're like, I think we're done. It's not Ragnarok.
It's fucking Ragnarok, man. That's what that shit is. Snows instantly, melts instantly. It's crazy out there. Like we all got to be careful. It's the end of the days.
It could very well be the end of days, and not
The machines
just
are coming, man.
man.
The machines are coming. Look, okay, I know it's been a while since we've talked about this, but in all seriousness, the machines, like, they're melting the snow.
All right, so what were we going to talk about other than A Wrinkle in Time?
There was a couple of things we were going to talk about, but mainly it was going to be A Wrinkle in Time because I'm super looking forward to this movie, and you seem to have some apprehensions after seeing it.
Okay, so here's the number one problem that I have with Wrinkle in Time.
All right.
It has one of those thank you for coming to the movies before it.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah?
I never see that shit out here. I see one or two of them with Cinemark, but really they're never before the movie. They're always like the start of the ads, and I've seen them maybe twice in my entire time out here. So I think you're just going to some bad movie theaters. But anyway, sorry.
Well,
keep going.
that's the only movie theater in town, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can go to Cinema World, but Cinema World has become the actual theme park of New England.
Yeah,
with
man.
The bowling and the lasers and the
fucking Cinema World. Sorry, no, those dudes doing it right. I'm sorry. Like movie theaters becoming like destinations. Like that's the key.
I don't disagree, and I'm really happy that they don't have food service in the theaters, but they do have a restaurant on site.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't think Cinema World will be happy until they've taken over all of the Lincoln Mall.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got to kick that Target out and they got to take that shit over. We have the Starbucks now.
Yeah, I feel like that's the goal. But yeah, Showcase, they show those, and it was one of those things where it shows parts of the movie. Like, it's not just behind the scenes stuff, and it's not just Ava DuVernay saying, like, thank you for coming out to support my movie.
Is it spoilers? Is it, like, straight up like, hey, here's a revealing moment? Because that's the worst.
Here's the last scene of the movie. Literally.
Oh, no.
Here's the last scene of the movie.
See, with Cinemark, you don't get that in the thank you for coming to theaters. Where you get that is in the here's how you buy a gift card from us. And it's only with like kids and family movies because, you know, that's when you're going to get the largest audiences. So they're always just like, hey, here's this family movie. Here's how you buy a gift card with us. Also, here's the fucking like climax of Despicable Me 3. Like the end. Okay. I don't want a gift card. I don't want Despicable Me 3 ruined. What are you doing?
Well, I saw Gringo on Thursday, which is a movie.
Hey,
everybody
you're like the only one.
Go see Gringo.
You're the only one that saw it.
Dale was there. I was not alone, dude. Like the fact that I got 11th place, it breaks my heart because Gringo is such a good movie.
Okay.
And it's one of those movies where like the ad campaign purposefully misleading.
So what's the deal with Gringo? Tell everybody what it is, because I am aware, but I know that everybody out there is probably not listening. Like, who's the big deal with that's in it, and then who's the director and stuff?
So Gringo is the cast is crazy. It stars David Oyelowo as Harold, who is your main character, and he is a middle management type at a pharmaceutical company who monthly makes runs to Mexico. His boss is Joel Edgerton. And his other boss is Charlize Theron.
Yeah,
So
and I will
like,
be honest, Joel Edgerton is like the reason that I was like into this movie because anytime that dude gets work, I am interested. Odd Life of Timothy Green wrecked me. Anyway, keep going.
well, not only that, but Charlize Theron, right? It's like Charlize
Yeah, no, no,
Theron,
no, no,
like
no, no. You want good acting? This movie has good acting. I'm not talking about it in terms of that. Joel Edgerton's a fantastic actor, but more importantly, on top of that, he's also just like an awesome dude. He's the reason to watch Bright. Anyway, sorry, keep
and
going.
his brother Nash Edgerton is the director.
No shit,
So
I didn't
like
know that.
it's like they're becoming their own Duplass brothers.
Yes, fuck yeah.
Look, I'm real happy I got that name out
Hey
correctly.
man, look at
Um,
them Douglas brothers and shit.
so they decide that they're going to join him on his next trip to Mexico, and this is amidst like him finding out that he's basically bankrupt because his
Mm.
wife has $18,000 in credit card debt.
So there's a lot going
There's a
on. It's
lot
basically
going on in this movie. And the reason why they're going down is because it turns out the drug that he has been monitoring is a cannabis pill that they're hoping to sell as legal weed. Instead of like joints or edibles, it's a pill that is monitored and FDA approved and all of that.
right.
Um, and the guy in charge of it has been selling it on the side for the company so that they can also have cash in hand.
Hmm.
So there's so much going on in this film. But then when it comes time to like sell it to the FDA and to get the approval, they're like, we got to knock this off just for a month. 1 month, we don't do this side shit so that everything looks legal on the books, and then we can start it going again. But the drug dealer that they're selling to, the Black Panther, literally his name is the Black Panther.
Devon's not being weird about this. That's just what it is.
um is like, no, that's not the deal. You ship to me no matter what. So then they're like, well, they're probably going to shut down this organization anyway once they move it to America. So there's only one person who has access to the vault that has the chemical compound of the pill, and that person is Harold. So he becomes the center of this huge kidnapping plot. And that's when Joel Edgerton calls in his brother, played by Sharlto Copley, who
Yeah.
a former mercenary, to save him from the kidnappers. And Amanda Siegfried is there. Like,
It's a crazy movie.
It's so many people are in this movie,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
I have only scratched the surface about what happens in this film. Like,
Have you ever seen Smokin' Aces? It's a fantastic little Ryan Reynolds film that also Ben Affleck's in it for like 2 seconds. There's a whole bunch of other people in it too. But have you ever seen that one?
Yes, of course I've seen Smoking
Yeah,
Aces.
well, it feels like this is in that vein of just like, let's get an ensemble together, crazy shit happens. Like, in a weird way, it's the ensemble caper, so like Ocean's 11 fits into this too, but it's not quite that. It's not nearly as clean as Ocean's 11 is, and that's just because Soderbergh's just a fucking master of it. But like, that's the idea, right? Is like like a big ensemble comedy action film, right?
Exactly. And there's some other people. I don't want to like some of the people who showed up were I was very excited to see, so I don't want to like spoil who they are. But let me tell you this. The first movie that you jumped to was Smoking Aces, and I shit you not, Sejohn, when I say Smoking Aces is tame compared to Gringo.
That's fucking awesome. That's awesome to hear. Because like I was thinking like the really consumable version of this. It's not clean, it's not well done, it's not perfect, but it's still awesome to watch as Big Trouble, right? The ensemble like comedy action
Yes.
movie.
Yes, I
Right.
know.
So
I
like
know Big Trouble. We've
and
talked
Big Trouble,
Trouble.
is yes, we have. And that is a totally like consumable movie because there's nothing really offensive about it as a watcher. Like I don't want to get into like breaking it down, but that's a whole other thing. But like at watching that movie, it's really easy to take in, right? Sofia Vergara in a phenomenal like early role for her, and Stanley Tucci as the weirdo. It's amazing. Anyway, so you get these big ensemble films. Get Shorty was kind of like the like again Steven Soderbergh, right? Like started this whole shit.
That wasn't Steven Soderbergh. That was the guy, the Addams
Barry
Family guy,
Sonnenfeld?
Barry Sonnenfeld. Yeah.
Eric Sonnenfeld. I easy to confuse
No,
those
easy
two.
to confuse those two. That's why I
Both like white directors with quirky tastes. Anyway,
might
white
be
dudes
the
look
same guy. I've never seen them in the same room together.
That's fair. Neither of us have. That's two people that corroborate that story. Look at that. You Glenn Beck the shit out of that. But like those ensemble comedy action movies, right? That like cool shit just goes down, and I'm excited for Gringo because I felt that the second I saw it, and the weird thing in my head that clicked for me was what was the big shoot 'em up movie that came up last year that you actually didn't
Free
really
Fire?
like? Fire. It reminded me of something like Free Fire, but you talked specifically about that not working for you. I was wondering if this one would.
Oh, and that's the thing. Like Gringo, but the problem is the only reason I brought up Gringo is sitting in the theater, ready to watch Gringo. They showed in the like ads before the movie like a 10-minute feature about Gringo.
Ooh.
And it's just like, oh, this friggin' sucks, right? This is going to ruin the movie. But let me tell you, I'm not kidding when I say, even watching that, everything in Gringo was a fucking surprise to me.
Awesome.
They did such a good job with that movie that it pissed me off to see that it didn't even crack the top 10. It pissed me off.
That's the kind of movie it is, though, man. Like it's too good to work. That happens with all the things.
It's like Aaron Sorkin's Sports Night.
Exactly.
It's a comedy.
I was just thinking Sports Night. I was thinking Better Off Ted. Yeah, exactly.
To be funny. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
and the beautiful thing about it is that it is an Amazon production, so it'll be on Amazon Prime in like 2-3 months, for consumption. So please get out to the theater, right? They're not going to thank you for going out to the movie, which that's another issue I have with A Wrinkle in Time is like, it's a fucking Disney movie, right? On that alone, people are going to go out and shell out their money to see the film. Those are not the ones where you should be like, thank you for coming to the movies.
I know, but you're thinking about it in terms of like the actual actors thanking you for coming. You have to think about it in terms of like, hey, we could afford to pay these people to come and film this spot. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, Disney can afford to pay people to come out and make those extra commercials in a way that Gringo couldn't. Those dudes are already moved on and are on other projects. They couldn't gather everybody for a day to film that spot, which sucks.
I know. It's just like, there are the movies that like legitimately should be like, thank you for coming out and giving our movie a chance.
No, you're totally right, man. I mean, it was one of the things that I really loved when Kevin Smith was making Zack and Miri was he went out of his way to film a bunch of stuff with Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks. God, thank you.
You're welcome.
With the two of them, you know, like being just like, hey, we're doing this thing that's a little weird and a little dark, and nobody else is really going to see this, but we know you guys love us, and we know you love Kevin Smith. Like, do this thing, and I'm not gonna say that's like the reason I went to go see that movie in theaters, but like it warmed my cockles. Like I was happy to be there because they like did that sort of shit. You could tell that they really love that project, and that's really what it comes down to. Is like Disney is like faking that love, which is why you hate it so much.
Yeah, it is 100% selling itself on that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you guys don't get to market a fucking warm fuzzy.
Yeah.
Like, that's not fun. That's not.
Yeah, anytime you see that shit before the movie, it really does feel like it's just a huge marketing thing. And like we were saying a week or two ago when you were talking about them maybe coming after the movie, like what's really great about that is it doesn't feel like a marketing thing because you've already seen the film, right? So there's no like marketing swing to it that you can apply. It really is legitimately them being like, thanks for watching our shit, which you don't feel when they play it before every other film.
Exactly. When it is, if it were a reward for sitting through the credits, not that I need a reward for sitting through the credits. Like, a lot of people don't understand that. That's something I have done since high school. Mm-hmm. When I started going to the movies with Mike Scambio and Dimitri Seitz, and it would be like, no, we paid for the whole movie. We should sit and see who the best boy grip was. Mm-hmm. And it was like, yeah, you're right. There's no reason that we shouldn't do it. Plus, we can get the conversation started here in the theater, right? Like while we're reading these names, and it just seemed like a more efficient way to go to the movies. That way, by the time we got to Denny's, we could focus on eating.
Hey man, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, right? And I mean, because they live further than Denny's. Like me, I was a hop, skipping, or jumping away, but they gotta get home, right? Because we're seeing midnight films. But you're not gonna go to Denny's afterwards. You gotta get that.
And really, this all comes down to Denny's.
Yes, and that's why this episode is brought to you by Denny's. When you
they
have
don't know
no
it,
other
but
option,
it's brought to you by Denny's. Yeah,
Denny's.
When you've got no other choice, Denny's. Diarrhea for a week, Denny's. Now,
thank God they're not actually sponsoring us. But it's just one of those things where it's like, if the thank you came afterwards, which is like, I sort of like, they've stopped it recently, and I'm not sure why, but I used to love that slide that said how many jobs a movie provided. Like, that was something where I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm really happy to see that. Like, you're admitting that, like, even though you just sat through 10 minutes of freaking text telling you who worked on this. There's no way that we mentioned
Look, you know what killed
everybody.
that shit though? What killed that shit was movie producers, not the like union dudes, not the dudes working on it, not crews, not any of that shit. Producers specifically coming in and being like, "Hey, piracy is killing us," despite the fact that all evidence pointed to the contrary, and then putting up all of those previews that were like, this many people worked on this movie, and that's who you're fucking over when you pirate it. But that's not true.
Because they
Like
already
none of
got
that.
paid, right?
Exactly. None of that shit was ever true. They just kept pushing it, and they were just like, oh, like fucking Joe America, who's out there just like trying to blow shit up for your entertainment, like you're fucking him out of a job when you pirate a movie. That's not true, man. That dude got that job. That dude blew shit up. You paid him. The end. Like he's fucking loving his life. The only people that are suffering from piracy is nobody, because we've actually proven that piracy actually leads to more money for a movie. Sorry, I don't want to get like too deep into
No,
this shit.
get deep into it, man. Fight
But
the
man, like,
power. It's all I'm
but
all
that's
about it.
but that's exactly what every time somebody has studied this, what they've proven is that the most pirated movies are also the movies that are making $1 billion in the box office. Like the reason that people are pirating them is because they want to see them and don't have access to them, which is different than I have full access but I choose not to pay. Those are two different thought processes. And so like the idea was like they put out all this shit where they were just like, hey man, like they took that stuff that was at the end of the movie where it was like Joe America from the Union being like, I worked on this movie, thank you for coming to see it, and they warped that shit into this story where it was like you're taking money out of that dude's pocket now, and like they took that feel good moment that you're talking about and they turned it into a plea for more money in a way in which we were like, no, like we're still talking about $1 billion movies. I'm sorry, Black Panther hit $1 billion this week. Like that movie, if I choose to see it in a different way now, like I don't feel bad. Like I'm sorry, sorry Disney, I don't feel bad.
I can't fault you for that. I cannot fault you for that at all. Like, and there's, you know what the thing that gets me, since we're now talking about piracy, I don't understand free over the air television, like how that's piracy. Like you put it out over the air, and if someone tapes it and then shares it for other people to watch, what are you trying to do?
I mean, who you're getting at is honestly the NFL and ABC. Like back in the '90s, they were the ones that really started a lot of those laws, specifically because of videotaping with VHS. When they were like, "Hey, you can't videotape a football game and show it to your friends anymore." Like that was a legitimate thing that they actually pushed on in the '90s. And for all intents and purposes, like the law still stands because they created it that way. Like you're talking like, and that started with VHS. That started with that whole videotaping stuff. It kind of bled into some pay-per-view stuff, which got real weird in the early 2000s when they were like, "Hey, you can't pay for pay-per-view and have a bunch of people over your house." But that's kind of the entire business model for pay-per-view. So everybody was just like, well, if we can't do that legally anymore, guess what we won't use anymore. Like, I don't know what they thought they were trying to prove by saying, hey, you can't pay for like this prize fight and have a bunch of friends over, because they lost all of their business when they did that. Like it's crazy, like the miscalculations in television and cable setups that cable companies have made over the last 20 years.
You're
It's
not
insane.
wrong. And then
It's
and you know
crazy.
what I think about? I think about that tape. Every house has this tape in it. And that tape is from when you had a free fucking weekend of the Disney Channel.
Yeah,
And you
man.
fucking taped everything.
You recorded Robin Hood, you recorded Fox and the Hound, you recorded everything that weekend.
You recorded the DuckTales premiere, like movie.
Yeah.
Like everybody had that. And the same with like HBO. The reason why people know Fraggle Rock, because that was an HBO show.
Yeah,
The
lest
reason
we
you
forget.
know Fraggle Rock is because you had a free fucking weekend of HBO and your parents were like, we're going to tape this for our kid.
You know what it was for me? Fraggle Rock was definitely in there, but you know the big one for me was Babar.
Ah, Babar.
That was totally HBO, and people like have this fond memory of Babar the TV show, and nobody seems to remember the fact that it wasn't like PBS. Like it's fucking Babar the Elephant. It was on HBO, dudes.
It is
Like,
the polar opposite of PBS.
mhm.
This is paid for by us.
Yeah. Now that's where your Sesame Streets are. Think about that, everybody.
Yeah. Oof. All the electric company's there too. And I love the electric
Man.
company. Can we do this? Do you think we could do this? I want to see if we can do 3 electric company-esque words. Okay? So I'm going to say a letter. You're
Okay.
going to say the end of the word, and then we're going to see if we can say the word in sync.
Got it.
All right? So we're going to try this. Buh.
Bark.
No.
Bark.
No, you would
Wait,
just
what?
say arc.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You say the end sound of the word.
Well, we ruined the bit already.
No, we
Try
didn't
again.
ruin the bit. We're gonna try it. All right. We got 3 strikes on this one. Fuh.
Uck.
Fuck.
Did I ruin it? Did I ruin it?
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
2
Wait.
strikes. It'd be fine because we're not doing it for children's television. We're just seeing if we can literally do the 2 silhouette thing from the electric
This
company.
might be my favorite bit we've
This
ever
is our
done.
challenge right here, right now. All right. Let's see. I got one more. Cha.
Uck.
Chuck.
Chuck.
Kinda. We kinda did it.
We kind of did it. See how I just went with uck again?
Yes.
Anyway, sorry.
Sejohn, the ucker.
Oh, God damn it.
That was fun. I'm really glad that we tried to do that. Did we have other stuff to talk about?
I
feel
got something I want to talk about.
Oh, please do. Oh, wait, no. I want to finish up on A Wrinkle in Time, and then it's all you.
Yeah. See how I avoided A Wrinkle in Time because of how much I'm looking forward to the
Yeah,
movie?
so you want to see it. Here's the only thing that me, and I'll wait until Sejohn sees it, and then we can really talk about it. Sandy and Dennis are cut out from the movie.
Oh.
And that really bothers me because driving around the day that we were going to see Thor Ragnarok, I said, if Sandy and Dennis are not in A Wrinkle in Time, that will really bother me. Because, and they were gone. And other stuff as well.
Yeah,
But-
I know. I have heard that there's a lot of stuff not included specifically because it was deemed unfilmable, and I'm really interested to see what they considered that. So we should definitely talk about it after I see it.
All right, so I'm very excited for you to see it. Now, on to Sejohn's thing.
Hey, man, I really love trench coats. No, like, okay, so I was thinking, like, I got really deep into some thoughts about comic books specifically today, over the last week. Jessica Jones season 2 came out. That's where this kind of weirdly starts, but yes and no. Anyway, so Jessica Jones season 2 came out, and man, if I know you're kind of like over the Netflix Marvel stuff, but if you're not watching any of them, at least watch the 2 Jessica Jones seasons. I think that they're super well done, and I think that out of all of them, they are the best made so far.
I believe that.
they're
I
not my-
don't doubt that. But here's my question before we go deeper. Could
Yeah,
I
yeah.
watch... I want to watch season 2 of Jessica Jones. How lost will I be if I don't bother watching the first?
No, you won't, because here's the secret about all Marvel stuff, and people ask me this about movies, about TV shows, everything. Marvel Comics is consistently built on trying to get you to read all of their comics. So no matter what line you read, they're constantly referencing other lines because they're just like, hey, go buy this. And that is seen it's specifically throughout the 90s and the 2000s in editors' notes, where they're constantly just like, for more on this thought, go and read this article of this issue of this thing. It's crazy, right?
The reason why Devon Decker owns the Infinity Gauntlet series that is about to get turned into a major motion picture is because in Sleepwalker number 7,
Nice.
the Chain Gang is created because of Thanos getting the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that is in an editor's note saying, to understand this better, buy this. And I'm
Exactly.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah, man, and you go and you buy that stuff, right? Like, that's how that shit is designed. But what it is also designed for that people never really seem to think about is it's designed for also the consumer that doesn't know that shit. Like, the reason that editor's note is there is so that you don't need a bunch of silly-ass backstory to get through the comic you're reading. That's just to give you more backstory if you want it. Right? And so I've always felt that way about every Marvel movie. Whenever somebody's just like, oh, but I missed like fucking Avengers and I missed all of the fucking Captain America stuff. How can I ever watch Ant-Man? And it's like, no, dude, just watch Ant-Man. Like, there's going to be a moment where you're just like, oh, that was interesting. I wonder what I missed in this other movie. That's it. It's going to be a fucking moment, right? And it's the same thing with all the Netflix shows. Like, watch whatever one you want. Luke Cage is phenomenal, even if you've never seen any of the other ones, despite the fact that Luke Cage was introduced in Jessica Jones season 1, right? It doesn't matter that you didn't see that shit. All that matters is that you watch this, and if there's a moment where you're like, I should watch Jessica Jones, do that shit if you want. Like, that's the great thing about it. Everybody's so worried about being left out, and it's that fear of missing something, right? Like that,
FOMO.
like FOMO,
They call it
man.
FOMO.
Exactly, right? Like fear of missing out, where you're just like, oh no, I didn't watch this Netflix series, so I don't get the rest of it. No, man, just fucking watch it. I promise you, it's good. And that's the sign of like a really good like Marvel property is when it stands on its own. And we said this a fuck ton about Black Panther.
It's why Marvel is Marvel. Marvel
Versus the
has
weird DC nonsense.
where like you need to read everything to understand it.
Hmm.
Marvel, and that's one of the worst parts. And it came to that head. It really came to its head in Civil War,
Hmm.
where it felt like if you're not reading all 18 books that are going on, you might miss something.
Well, and at the end of the day, like big event stuff like that, I can forgive those being really heavily based on past events. Like I can be okay with the idea that Civil War really depended on you reading a bunch of other stuff because it is a big event versus a private line. If I have to read Captain America in order to understand Ghost Rider, that's a mistake on the writer's part, right? And luckily that shit's never happened in Marvel because they're really good at that. And that bleeds into the Netflix stuff. It really does. And it's a shame that you don't seem to want to finish Jessica Jones season 1 because it's super good, but divorced from that thought, like sure, go ahead and watch season 2. It's never going to reference anything that you don't know. Like Kilgrave fucked her
Especially,
up.
yeah.
She's trying to figure out herself from Kilgrave, the end. Like that's the only thing you really need to know from season 1, right? And like it moves on. It's phenomenally done in that way.
Well, the thing is, I watched the first episode of Defenders,
Hmm.
and the best part of the Defenders first episode was the Jessica Jones stuff.
Of
And
course,
be
right.
that because I am a fan of Kristen Ritter, so I'm already kind of like grandfathered into liking her and things.
Hmm.
Or I don't know what it is, but it really worked for me, her stuff. And I'm like, I think I'd watch it. I think what really bothered me about the first season of Jessica Jones, first of all, that first episode was not good. And I've heard a lot of people that agree with me that it gets better from that first
Ugh,
episode.
I disagree. I think that first episode is really good and it just gets better. But anyway,
Okay,
sorry. I,
that's fine.
I
No,
just
that's
wanted to be out
completely
there.
fine. No,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
other people have told me I get where you're coming from. I didn't
yeah,
really
yeah,
like
yeah.
the first episode either. But another thing is, I'm a weird motherfucker, right? And you heard it here first, officially admitted. I'm a weird motherfucker who loves the Purple Man. And
Huh.
I was this person who was waiting and waiting and waiting for the Purple Man to show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Like they had a character on Agents of Shield who was very similar to him, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is awesome! Like this
Oh
is
my God, you're
awesome.
killing me. Just watch season 1 of
I
Jessica Jones then. Just do it, man. It's
but
so
but
good.
but I but it's like it's too much for me. It's too
Oh!
much for me. It's too
Sin
much
Bin
for the one.
Sin Bin is the greatest piece of Marvel filmed history I think has ever existed. It's better than any of the movies. It's better than any television episode they've done. Sin Bin, which is episode 8 of season 1 of Jessica Jones, is I think perfection on the most like perfect level of like comic book to film to like serious art level. It's so good. It is just so good.
And I want to try, but it's like I was so excited for Jessica Jones. I was so
Hmm.
excited because you got Kristen Ritter playing her, which is perfect casting.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
character who I like. I like Jessica Jones too. And then I sit down to watch it, and that's where the Purple Man's gonna be. And I'm like, no, no, not here. That's too much for me. And then they threw in the Luke Cage sex scene in the first episode, and I'm like, look, I know these two are a thing because I'm Devon
Can
Decker.
I tell you a secret?
What?
I don't think that in the Netflix universe that they're ever going to make them an official thing. I think that that first season is a nod to them, and if you watch more of it, you realize how quickly they establish that the two of them don't necessarily work
Oh, I
together.
know that they're not going to work together based upon the first episode of The Defenders.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah. But like
I understood that they divorced that completely, but it's just like you
they
would.
will forever be the couple that loves each other but just can't make it work, I think, in the Netflix stuff.
That's fine with me. I have no problem with it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just that first episode did so much that like I was looking forward to, and it's kind of like a TV VCR combo.
Hmm.
Where like it's not a great TV and it's not a great VCR because it's trying to do too much.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that is how Jessica Jones presented itself to me in that very first episode was we are trying to do too much because I am also that person who is super egocentric, and when there is the littlest reference in an episode of television that feels tailor-made to Devon Decker and his entire life leading up to that moment intersecting with that moment in the television show, I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like somehow it happened just for me.
Can
I've
I
never, yeah.
Can I do something that might alleviate that fear a little bit? Like, I understand like the idea that it feels like it's like a scatter shot, like shotgun blast in the first episode, but I think part of that might be the genre that it's living in, like that whole noir genre where like you're hit with a bunch of information at first, and it takes time for them to piece it together. I think that what you get later on in the season is you get a lot of that stuff that comes at you really quick in the first episode actually being meaningful later on.
Right.
And
But
I'm not
that's
saying that it's clean, and I'm not saying it's well done and all that other stuff. Like I get like why you feel like it's a bunch of like it's an overload at first, but I do think they do a really good job of tying a lot of that stuff together into one thing. So where it feels like it's a lot of stuff at once in the first episode, by like the seventh or eighth episode, that's when it starts to feel like, oh, here's why it's all important.
but okay, but I'm not saying that the importance and the way the story is told is not what I had an issue with. What really affected me was this is too much for me. Like it's scary. Like one
Yeah.
little joke in Family Guy that feels like it is for me. Like the Maude theme song. Where he's like, oh, it's Maude with the super long theme song. And like for fun I used to sing the Maude theme song. Because people don't remember the Maude theme song.
Yeah.
Right? Like it used to be like a joke that I did. And then like I had stopped watching Family Guy a little bit and I sang the Maude theme song and the person I was with was like, yeah, that was a weird joke on Family Guy. It went on too long. And I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? You were just referencing Family Guy. And I'm like, no, that's something I've been doing since I like learned that song when I was in 6th grade.
All
Because
right,
it's
Cartman, take a breath.
no, fuck you. I'm not trying to say I did it first. It was just this. It was this moment where I'm just like, oh, that's weird. That's weird. And then I watched Jessica Jones, and it is so much of like a good thing that it just felt like a bad thing. Like it was.
I mean, like,
it was gluttony of pleasure.
Yeah, and I challenge you to fucking watch the rest of that season, man, because I really do think it's some of the best stuff that Marvel has done. Like you know how much I hold Winter Soldier in high regard. It is the Winter Soldier of their television like exploits. Like it really is. It's them like just kind of really honing their skill. Not saying that they get it right, but you can watch throughout the season how they perfect it. Much like with Winter Soldier, I think it starts off a little shaky, but man, by the last act of that movie, I think they've really hit something. And like, it's why I'm super excited for these next movies, because I think Civil War is just like them just extending the end out of that film. And I think that Infinity War is where they really kind of go further with it. I'm super excited to see what they do with the rest of the season of Jessica Jones, because I feel like where they kind of like hone their skill on season one, a little messy at first, but then perfection by the end. It starts off in such a good place with this season. There is a lot going on, but again, that's just kind of the nature of the genre. Like there's like 5 stories going on that are all going to get tied together really quickly. I don't know, man. Carrie Ann Moss is amazing, and like Trish remains the best character that they've created for the entire Marvel universe, as far as I'm concerned. But this gets back to what I was saying. The reason that I love Trish and the reason that I love trench coats, right? The reason why Jessica Jones sticks out for me. I have always been a fan, and this is more evident in DC than it is in Marvel, but I've always been a fan of the dudes stuck amongst gods. Like Commissioner Gordon is my favorite DC character, hands down. There's never been another character that's ever competed with me in the DC universe for Commissioner Gordon's character, and it's because he is just this average dude surrounded by all of these people that are like more powerful than him, and he's just trying to maintain order in his life. And I love those stories. And it even gets down to his own family when you find out that his own son is a serial killer and like all the shit that he has to deal with. Like all he ever wants is normalcy in his life, and he just can't be granted it, mainly because one of his best friends and closest allies and brothers in the world is fucking Batman. And he's fucked not because of his own powers, but because of the powers of somebody related to him, right? And it's like everything that he deals with that. Commissioner Gordon, best DC character as far as I'm concerned, right? In the Marvel universe, you get like bubbles up of those characters, but what's really great about Marvel is they're able to work that concept into their own heroes, which is why I love Marvel as much as I do. I mean, like the best scenes for Peter Parker are not when he is fucking Spider-Man, but when he's Peter, right? Like that's just plain and simple. The best things for Logan are not when he's Wolverine, but when he is trying to be a man, when he is trying to be Logan and not a mutant, right? So like anyway, like the big thing for me that I realized starting this Jessica Jones stuff is it's dealing so much with her human side and so much with her competing with the fact that the other half of her is a vigilante and a superhero. That's the entire concept for season 2. Like, it starts off with her taking on this case with somebody being like, "You're a vigilante, right? Why won't you do this vigilante thing for me?" And she's just like, "Because I'm not above the law. At the end of the day, like, as much as I took this on this 1 or 2 times, I can't do that every time." And like, her dealing with that concept, it's beautifully done. It's so well done, and I'm excited about that. And it just made me start thinking about like what it is I love about these characters, like Gordon, like Jessica Jones. And I realized what it is, man, is it's their trench coats.
I'm so upset that my parents are away this week. And the reason is they are often upstairs while I sit and record this show in my own personal dev lair. That is the Say Report headquarters, Rhode Island branch. And all the time they say to me, "Does Sejohn ever talk?" And that's partially because they can only hear me, right? You're not playing through like monitor speakers and anything like that.
Right, exactly.
But yes, you talk, right? As evidenced by the beautiful litany of prose you just blessed our listeners with regarding Commissioner James Gordon and trench coats. It was beautiful, and I'm just sad that they think that I completely like strong arm and steamroll this show.
Yeah, man.
Because the beauty of the Say Report is that we are allowed to steamroll each other, and neither one of us takes it personally. You motherfucker. No. And yes, but again, the other issue is the Netflix way of watching television just does not work for me. And that's the other problem. The binge is not something that I am a fan of. The only things that I have ever been able to binge watch are the TBS original programming. And I don't know why, but the shows on TBS I have sat down and watched entire seasons of. Men at Work and The Detour. And those work like that, but again, they're half-hour shows. I think it's the length that sort of messes with me a little bit, because I want to like Jessica Jones. I honestly do. And I don't blame the show. I don't blame that there's too much going on. I 100% blame the fact that I am expected to sit down and basically watch a 10-hour film.
Yeah.
And that's
man. I was thinking about that with Daredevil season 1 is like really like the reason that I love that show is because every episode feels like its own movie. And I think that I can totally get that with things like Luke Cage and Iron Fist to a point. It has its own problems otherwise, but a huge part of it is the idea that like you do have to watch the whole season to get the whole story. There isn't a great compact story in one episode. And I think that's what Daredevil season 1 does really well that none of the other Netflix shows does.
And I'm going to say to you right now, I got 4 episodes into Daredevil and was like, I can't do this. This is too much for me. Like, to be like, oh, maybe we watch another one. And it's also this thing that, like, television in my house, I've said it a million times, is a religious experience. And part of a religious experience is the shared worship. Like, I'm not a huge fan of NCIS. I feel like they've made a lot of changes. Michael Weatherly leaving the show was a big hit for me.
That's fair, though. I mean, like, he was a huge part of that show.
Yeah, and his new show is really good. But if my family is sitting down to watch an episode of NCIS, even though I'm not a huge fan of it, that shared community of the Deckers sitting down to watch something, I want to be a part of that. And we've tried to do that with these Marvel shows, and these are the ones that like should work for them, right? Because it's not too far off base from a cop procedural or Rizzoli and Isles.
Oh man,
which is like a cop procedural. But they don't work because I don't know. I don't know what doesn't work about the bingeable model from Netflix.
Well, and I'll say to that is that like I totally get that concept of sitting down and watching it with somebody because that's how I love to experience shows. Like above all else, I don't care how many times I've watched an episode of something. If I'm watching it with somebody that's seeing it for the first time, it's fucking glory to me. Like, it is ambrosia to me to watch an episode of a show that I've watched 3 or 4 times, but it's the first time that my partner is seeing it. Like, so that's how the Arrowverse works for me. I've watched those shows a billion times, but man, it's the first time ever that Tessa's ever watched these shows. So like, it's amazing to me when she sees these things because like I get to watch it with her for the first time. It's like watching it with fresh eyes, right? And then we talk about it and we gush about it for like a while. And so I love watching these shows for them with her for the first time, right? And there's this whole idea that we're getting now to new episodes that even I haven't seen, and I almost want to watch them ahead of her so that I can watch them with her for the first time again. But then adding to that is the idea that we do that with all of these DC Arrowverse shows. We watched Arrow, we watched Flash, we watched Supergirl. We're way into Black Lightning right now. It's only just started, but I have a funny feeling it's just going to get out of the rotation. Legends is the only one that we kind of fall off of, and that's because it's just a little too weird for her. I fucking love it though. So that being said, I'm also totally capable of watching those shows on my own. And now, like, I'm in this weird place where I'm like, do I keep watching them on my own or do I watch them with? Because, but I totally get that there's like a line. Like, there's an idea that, like, people outside of us are willing to tolerate. But for me, I don't mind watching them on my own. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just strange. Like
Yeah.
I want that communal feeling, and it feels like just that little bit hollow if I've seen it and the person I'm watching it with hasn't.
Yeah. Well, and I get that. Like I don't know, man. If it's something I really love, I don't mind it. If it's something that I'm kind of feeling weird about, I kind of watch to see how they're feeling about it. My counter to this is I watched the first episode of Champions this week, the new Mindy Kaling show with what's his name from Workaholics at the lead there.
Adam
Uh,
Devine,
no. I love Adam Devine. I love
Anders
them all.
Holm.
Anders Home. It's Anders Home is at the front of it for this one, and I really like Anders Home, which is why I actually watched it because I like Mindy Kaling, but I'm not a diehard fan of her work. So like I wasn't like dead set on watching it because of her. But Anders Home, I kind of am. Like Workaholics was phenomenal for me, and all of the weird little side projects that all of them have done. Also, watch out this year 420 Workaholics movie. Just putting that out there. But but yeah, so I watched it and like I had weird feelings about it because I was like, I like this, but I like this in the way that I like Border Town and the way that I like for early seasons of Family Guy. Like I don't know if maybe this is gonna work for the world in the way that it works for me. And I watched it with Tessa, right? And like and she liked it, and I watched it with other people, and they seemed to like it. So like I I'm excited to watch more of that show, but I'm kind of on the fence in a way that I'm not with other shows. Whereas with you show me one of these Marvel shows, man, and I'm just gonna fucking consume it. I'm just gonna take it down. And I think, all I wanted to say before we wrap up, because we're getting a little deep into shit now. Like as far as the trench coat stuff goes, like I really have to start thinking about like one of the reasons that it's really easy for me to consume something like Jessica Jones is because of the type of character that she is. I mean, the entire show is this noir thriller. So like you've got me sold on that, man. Maltese Falcon all the way. Like so I was thinking about like, oh yeah, I have been reading a lot of Transmetropolitan and a lot of Hellblazer, like early Hellblazer. Like I'm way into these characters that are these dudes that are just regular dudes in a shitty world trying to figure out how to make it through. Like John Constantine maybe being the furthest removed from that because he knows magic, but even then he's still just a regular dude that taught himself magic in order to survive, right? Like I love these characters that are just like regular people just caught in fucked situations, and that is who Jessica Jones is at the end of the day, you know. Luke Cage is kind of in that same boat, which is why I think why it's my second favorite of all these Marvel shows. I just love these like normal average people are just stuck in weird situations, and I think Netflix is doing a really good job of capturing that.
And those
So maybe
two are
like
definitely that. I mean,
yeah,
those
so
two,
like
because neither one of them asked for the powers.
right,
It was their stuff was sort of thrust upon them in
right.
an accident, and they're better at being normal people.
And even
Who,
their powers don't make them superheroes. It's their choices, right?
yeah,
Like everybody else in that universe, Daredevil and Danny and Elektra, like they're all kind of superheroes in their own right because they've always lived outside of society. But like Luke Cage and Jessica, they've always lived within society and have had to deal with their powers in that sense. It's a much more interesting story for me.
I cannot disagree. Now, you mentioned the word challenge. I mentioned the word challenge. I was going to call this episode the Challenge Report because we tossed around doing a challenge.
Yeah, we did.
Do we want to finish up with that? Do you think we
Yeah,
can get
man.
that out quick enough?
Oh, really quick because I've only got a couple of basic rules for it. So yeah.
All right, so Sejohn over like on Friday, sent me a picture showing that he had gotten over 600 moons in Super Mario Odyssey. I, for the first time in, let's say, 6 months, turned on my Switch to see how many moons I had and found I had 635. And it was decided that we would have a race to 999 moons.
Yeah, man.
And Sejohn said he had some rules.
Yeah, well, okay, so first things first is I had to get to 635 before today. And I am proud to report that what I did was I got to 634, and then in the Cascade Kingdom, I picked up one more moon. I am not quite sure which one one of the dinosaur ones where he smashes some bricks. But anyway, I'm basically at 635. I just had to hand in my last moon. So we're both at 635. I want to point that out. We both have the boss rush 3, right, where you run through the 3 of them, all of the bosses in the game, all of the brutal bosses in the game, I should say.
Yes.
Yes. So we both have that. There's a couple of other things I wanted to lay out and really kind of throw up more for discussion really quick. But essentially, we want to get to 999. That is the baseline. 999 moons, right? The idea is that we can't use any online resources. So you can't go looking for like walkthroughs and all of that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
Is that okay with both of us?
That's from me.
Now,
because I have not used a single one yet.
It's for both of us. Like I feel that same way. Like I've been able to get to this point, but just kind of using some basic mechanics in the game. The other thing I wanted to point out was how do you feel about like Toad and Amiibo setups? Because those are built into the game. Those are a little different than online resources.
No. I was given as a gift Wedding Suit Bowser.
Nice.
And all I want to do is put Wedding Suit Bowser on there so that I can know where purple coins are, but I refuse.
Okay.
Because the purple coins have provided me a grander challenge than anything else. Yeah,
the purple coins are we'll get to that in a minute. I don't have Wedding Suit Bowser. What I have is I have a Toad amiibo from Captain Toad on the Wii U. Phenomenal game. Go out and play it. They should bring it to the Switch ASAP.
It's coming to the Switch. They announced that on the Direct on Thursday.
God, yes. Anyway, yeah. So that's the only amiibo I have, and I'll be honest, I have used that to find a couple of odd stars here or there. Not many. I think like 4. I think altogether. So if you feel weird about that, I can go out and collect 4 more stars.
No, it's completely fine. You've used it up to this point. You used it before the challenge. Now that the challenge is beginning, no more amiibo assistance.
Okay, no more amiibo assistance. How about Toad assistance? How do we feel about that?
What is Toad assistance?
You can, instead of going to the amiibo, you can pay 50 coins to not Captain Toad, but his little buddy there, his second in command. You can pay him for hints.
You can get hints, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely fine with the hints. I haven't used any hints to this point, but like I'm not going to say you can't talk to Talkatoo.
I will say, okay. Talkatoo is also included in that. The only time I have used him was in was it Cap Kingdom? There was one where you had to look back on a hidden room, and I could not. It was my last moon on the Cap Kingdom, I believe, and I could not for the life of me figure it out. And it was in a hidden room, and you had to look backwards, and that was before Devon and I established the rule that there's always 2.
Remember that rule? That was a good rule.
That was a good time when we realized that, because ever since I've realized that, I've always known to look for at least 2 moons in every hidden room.
See,
anyway,
I realized that very early on. It was me sharing it with you.
You have to understand. We both realized that very, very early. That was like in moon 400, and here we are at 635. So okay. So you can use in-game stuff if need be, but essentially try and use as much as you can.
Basically, you can't use steroids. Like there's no outside assistance.
But purple coins, I think purple coins is an interesting addition here. I think we should say that you also have to get every purple coin in every kingdom.
I'm fine with that because I'm going to do it anyway. So
exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Is I'm going to make that attempt anyway, and rather than make it my own handicap, let's make it yours too. So 999 stars. You can't pay for them. They can't be moons. Sorry, moons. They can't be moons out of the shop. You have to, except for the ones that are required for the shopping in whatever kingdom.
The $100 shop. The $100 moon in each one.
And I think we've all gotten all of those.
Yeah, why wouldn't you have all of those at this
point? Exactly. So no more shopping for moons, no more going online for hints, all that sort of nonsense. Purple coins in every kingdom. And the only other rule I think that I established was that we have to finish the boss rush, which we both have, and Dark Side of the Moon. What is Dark Side of the Moon again? Remind me.
Darker Side?
No, yes. No. Darker Side was the boss rush that we both finished, right?
No, that's just Dark Side.
Oh, okay.
Darker Side is the crazy platforming obstacle.
Yes.
And I have done that.
Yes,
So
you have done that, so I need to. So the idea is all purple coins at 999 moons, and we have to finish both Dark Side and Darker Side.
yes. I have a leg up.
Yes, a little bit of one, but we'll get there. But yeah, I think those are the basic rules, and I want to lay this contest out for the two of us.
So this is the contest. It's not going to like take a huge impact on the show, but each week we will tell where we are moon-wise.
Yeah, man.
So look forward to that going forward.
The killer for me is going to be I only just discovered that you can get moons by using the binoculars.
Oh, okay.
I only just discovered that, and also the races, the Master Cups and the Cups are gonna kill me.
I currently have full cleared every kingdom up to, I'm gonna say, the Cloud Kingdom.
Ah, see, okay, so you've been working through like full clears. I haven't bothered with that yet, so
Yeah.
I've got to go back for some. All
So
right,
that
all right.
is so that's going to be an interesting part to this. It's going to be fun. Hopefully, it's going to be fun for us. And you not seeing any of the footage, maybe you enjoy it. Or maybe if we ever do a sadder say, Sejohn, it'd probably be Sejohn if I could figure out how to get him to stream. You need to get a capture card. It'd be hard. That's something that we talk about
streaming a Switch is
afterwards.
weird. Streaming a Switch is weird, guys.
But we can have that discussion. We can figure it out. Or heck, even I would do it because I actually have the setup for it. And it would be like literally one extra cable for me.
But Devon wants to make it really hard for me, so we'll see what happens there. So
yeah, but it's fun, like because we do talk and play video games together, and I'd like to start doing that more and sharing it with you guys out there in the world. So look forward to that too. But until then, if you have any complaints about anything that I've said this week, feel free to reach me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And I'm at Siege versus the World, and hit me up with hints on where I can find more moons to beat Devon.
Oh God, you're the underdog in this situation.
Oh, I'm totally the
I'm
underdog.
Ben Stiller, and you're Vince Vaughn.
No. Yes, exactly. You've been complaining to me all week about how it is that people can like play Mario Odyssey with all of these handicaps, and no, man, I need them all. I need every single one.
Oh, I'm so happy I did that like 12 times. All right. Remember to listen to Say Report Jr. because it's out there and they're great people. Like, they're related to us, so they have to be great. And now, the only person I know who knows how to use 3 seashells correctly, ladies and gentlemen, William.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.